Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. There are a couple big things that Marvel really, really wants you to forget, and it's doing everything it can to just make you slowly stop questioning what happened to them. So we'll break it all down because there's a lot happening with Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, Spider Man Brand New Day next year and the year after that, and Marvel's big reboot, and what everything is going to look like after the reboot. There's a lot to unpack here. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. But As a lot of you have probably realized the last couple of years, there are just a couple really big groups of characters, ideas that Marvel seems like it really, really wants to vanish into their giant Indiana Jones sized warehouse of stuff that it never wants to ever get out again. And based on a new report, the Eternals characters seem like they are the next thing that just got boxed up and wheeled to the back of that warehouse and we'll never see them again. What are you talking about? There's no Eternals movie in Ba Sing Se. If you didn't see it, there was a new report claiming that the Eternals will not be in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars, and it also looks like there are currently no plans to do anything with those characters after the big Marvel reboot during Marvel Phase 7, the mutant era of the MCU. All because it is full steam ahead with all the X-Men characters, and Marvel just prioritizing that over everything else, all the other lesser groups of characters. Also looking at you, the Inhumans. You could also lump the Inhumans in with this, based on the way they treated those characters the last several years. Brief cameo during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness with Black Bolt coming back, but that's really about it. Marvel also really hoping that you just forget completely about that Inhuman series that was on TV a long time ago. There are going to be a couple people in the comments that are like, nope, not me. I definitely remember that series. I tried to watch most of that series. All the projects, the movies, the TV shows that were going to feature the Eternals have either been dramatically changed, like in the case of Avengers 5 when it was still Kang Dynasty, in the older version of Secret Wars before they brought the Russos and Robert Downey Jr. back and they completely changed those scripts. The Russos, when they were hired, completely rewrote Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, so whatever they were going to be doing before is now completely different. There was the Young Thanos project because Thanos is an Eternal from Titan. He is the brother of Eros Starfox, Harry Styles' character that we saw in the Eternals movie. There was the direct sequel movie, Eternals 2, that they were working on that got outright canceled.
The Royal Prince of Titan, brother of Thanos, the Knave of Hearts.
So we'll explain what the original plan was when they were making the first Eternals movie, like why they were hyping them up so big at the beginning of Marvel Phase 4, and why that all changed over time, like why Marvel wants you to forget about that, and why they went so far in Captain America Brave New World when they were finally addressing that giant dead celestial in the Indian Ocean that's been there for the entirety of Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5, with nobody referencing it in any of the other movies and TV shows, with one exception. She-Hulk did reference it briefly, but it was very blink and you'll miss it, tiny in the background. You remember during that movie, there were just a couple lines of dialogue, celestial mass, and that was it. There was no mention of the word Eternals or any of those characters, just giant celestial mass got a brief phrase in his big presentation, and that was the last time they mentioned it in the movie. Now you also feel like Kit Harington's Black Knight is a casualty of them trying to fridge that movie and just get you to completely forget about those characters. What are you talking about, Kit Harington? No, he's from the Game of Thrones TV show. We don't remember him ever being in the MCU. As a lot of you have also noticed, the past couple of years since Marvel fired Jonathan Majors, they've kind of done the same thing with the Kang character, but there's actually better news on the horizon for Kang just in general, because he was such an overarching villain. They were going to use him for Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty, the Council of Kangs. He was going to be a much bigger villain during Avengers Secret Wars in the original incarnation, so he was going to have a much bigger footprint in the MCU just in general. Even though it seems like Marvel rewrote the Loki Season 2 finale to wrap up all the Kang plot, like, oh, the TVA just went around and took care of all the Kang variants. That's the end of the Council of Kangs. There actually is a chance that they bring Kang back after Avengers Secret Wars and they reference him briefly during the events of the Russo's version of Avengers Secret Wars, even if Jonathan Majors himself doesn't come back short term. Given what happened with Jonathan Majors and the fact that they're so willing to go back to Kang eventually, it does seem weird now that they want you to forget about the Eternals characters so much. Normally you would think it would be the other way around. And probably the biggest thing to blame for all this, for them basically wanting to fridge the Eternals, are the existence of the X-Men characters, the fact that Marvel got the rights back to the X-Men. So I'll explain what was originally supposed to happen with the Eternals characters, like the whole purpose they were supposed to serve, the reason why they did a movie with them in the first place, if they were going to just turn around and try to get you to forget about them, and also how Marvel was supposed to incorporate the Kang storyline and how that might still inform what happens with the big Marvel reboot and how they explain the new version of the MCU in Marvel Phase 7. So rewind to a couple years before Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame come out. So this is in the 2010s when Marvel is still figuring out what Infinity War and Endgame are going to be. But back in the 2010s, long before Avengers Infinity War ever actually came out, when they were still figuring this out, they needed to have some big new group, some big new IP that they hadn't done before to introduce after Avengers Endgame because they wanted to push into new territory. And Marvel had always been emboldened by its success along the way, Marvel Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 success, to try weirder and weirder stuff from the comics. This is why back during Marvel Phase 2 and Marvel Phase 3, they started doing way more Guardians of the Galaxy stuff because they were so emboldened by their success in Marvel Phase 1, in Marvel Phase 2. Like, oh, we can actually try a talking tree and a talking raccoon, and it won't be bad. That wound up going very, very well for them at the time. Kevin Feige said that they took that overwhelming level of success and decided that it was time to try something as weird as the Eternals idea. And remember, this is long before Marvel had ever started talking to Fox about buying them out. So this is in a time also when they're heading into Marvel Phase 4, and Kevin Feige knows that he won't have the X-Men characters and can't use the mutants in any of his movies. So he needs another big group that can serve the role that the X-Men would have served, because that would have been the next thing that they would have gone to had they originally had all their rights for the IP. Like, oh, we'll just shift to X-Men and mutants, like completely new types of characters that look totally different from the Marvel movies we've done before. So originally the whole idea is that the Eternals were meant to fill the X-Men gap. At the time, Marvel was just so confident in itself that they just assumed that everybody would come to see whatever movie they released. It didn't matter how weird it was, so they weren't worried that the Eternals would not be a success. But this was also long before the pandemic happened, all the theater closures happened, so there were a number of disasters that all happened in different ways. Like Chadwick Boseman was still alive when this was happening, so they were still counting on him being a foundational character for the MCU after Avengers Endgame. Basically, all the worst things that could happen to Marvel did happen. Things in their control and things out of their control.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining at a bit of a low point.
What also happened is that around the time they were finishing the Eternals movie, this was before they released it in theaters, they were still finishing it. Right around May, June 2019, when they're releasing Avengers Endgame in theaters, the actual deal for Disney to buy Fox and Marvel getting all the rights back to their X-Men characters, everybody else, also cleared, like the ink was signed, meaning that Kevin Feige was legally allowed to start developing X-Men based projects. Suddenly theaters start closing, their box office does terribly, people don't dig the Eternals the way that they hoped that they would, so they want to pivot to other things, and suddenly they have all the X-Men characters back, so they don't have to worry about the Eternals anymore. When Kevin Feige just did his big Marvel Phase 7 panel explaining the future of the brand and what's going to be happening after Avengers Secret Wars with their big Marvel reset, as they're calling the reboot, he's calling a reset of singular timelines. I'll explain that in a second. One of the big questions he got asked in the room was when we would see some of these Marvel Phase 4 characters they introduced, again, like when are they going to come back, the Eternals being one of those groups of characters. And one of the funny examples he gave to explain that was the leader character coming back in Captain America Brave New World. Like, it was almost 20 years before he came back, before you saw the character again. So he was trying to say never about the Eternals characters coming back, but it might be 20, 30 years before you see them again. Like, some of you, if you're old enough, might have actually died of old age before they bring the Eternals back. As much as it sounds like it sucks for some of those actors, because some of those are actually really solid actors, I'm totally fine with them pivoting to X-Men, because really they're the big popular group that everybody was hoping that they would do movies for when we heard that Disney was going to buy Fox. Like, oh, you can finally do new X-Men movies. Here's where we actually get to the whole Kang storyline. As part of this larger report about Marvel not bringing the Eternals back anytime soon, They're also claiming that Marvel is going to explain this reboot in that it's sort of a restoration of the true 616 comic book universe in the MCU. That Marvel is going to explain this reboot in that it's sort of a restoration of the true 616 comic book universe in the MCU will resemble that, where all the different characters like Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers characters have always characters have always existed on the same Earth, and nobody thinks that it's weird. There's no weird backstory problems like why weren't they helping out during the final battle in Avengers Endgame? And they were going to explain it was He Who Remains version of Kang that came along and created the MCU that we saw between the first Iron Man movie and Spider-Man Far From Home, considering that the true end of Marvel Phase 3 before Marvel Phase 4.
Every moment of peace was yours
because I was here.
And before he came along and created the sacred timeline and started pruning things and removing things that he didn't like, the original true MCU always looked more like the traditional 616 comic book universe. In the big Marvel reboot, that reset of singular timelines that Kevin Feige is talking about is more of a restoration of the true MCU, and that's the way they're going to pitch it. We will see if that sticks, and that's the way they try to explain this whole Marvel reboot. They might have changed some of those plans because, like I said, the Russos have been rewriting the script for Avengers Secret Wars day to day, and they haven't even started filming that yet. They're still in the middle of filming Avengers Doomsday. We should really be looking at this whole Marvel reboot situation after Secret Wars as Marvel's house cleaning, like they're just tidying things up behind the scenes and stuffing it in the back of that giant Indiana Jones warehouse going forward. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. What do you think about them trying to fridge the Eternals? Do you care? Do you not care? There's a bunch of stuff coming up. We have Peacemaker Season 2 episodes starting soon. We have the Alien Earth TV show I'm also doing videos for. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everybody click here for all those brand new Spider-Man Brand New Day videos that they release, and click here for that brand new Robert Downey Jr. Avengers Doomsday teaser that he released. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.